Peerspace is a more operationally complex marketplace, the more we kind of dive into things here. So do you have any maybe learnings, from running it as an operationally complex marketplace and, tips for founders looking to build them that you could share with us?
I spent 11 years doing Peerspace, and what I will say is marketplaces are very hard. They're complicated, but they're super rewarding. There's a reason why some of the most transformative businesses over the last 20 years are marketplaces. They're asset light. They have, if you figure it out, they've got great network effects, which means their, growth can compound. And it's also like just kind of rooted in this disruptive nature. Like you can bring many different suppliers to solve a problem. You don't have to build something custom, like a SaaS or something. You can solve this by getting the right groups together and aligning the incentives. And so, what I would say is, it's important to map out your vision to understand what the possible opportunity or your TAM of your marketplace is, but stay hyper focused as you create that initial wedge. And I mentioned that earlier. I think sustainable growth is important for marketplaces, especially right now. The hype train is fully on AI, as it probably should at this point. But just think about what that means for marketplaces. You're either going to be an AI enabled marketplace or you're going to be more traditional tech enabled marketplace. Either way, it's just sound business to make sure that you're building for sustainability and making sure that you're in a position where you can create the best outcome for yourself as a founder, and for your employees and shareholders. And I think things swung really far in that direction in like 2022, with a push towards profitability. And for businesses like Peerspace that understood that, I think a lot of marketplaces also we kind of create these shadow markets when we start out because the nature of what you're trying to disrupt via a platform that is a marketplace is something that maybe not all investors really get and want to throw a lot of, money against. So for marketplaces like ours, we're ready to do that. And I think that's really important, and it allows you to, hold your own cards. So I think that's important. Sustainable growth, reinvesting growth back into the business. And, you know, as far as tips for other founders, I would say ask yourself, is this your life's work or could this be your life's work? Could you commit 5 to 10 years to this mission when you're evaluating what your business is? Are you able to build something without venture funding if you needed to? Like, could you sustain it? And are you prepared to go through what would be kind of a slower slog? I would say, if you have a lot of venture funding, you can burn through that really fast. It doesn't mean you're going to be successful. So, can you go without it, or can you go with just, taking what you need so that you can continue to, like I say, like hold the cards here. Um, as far as organization, I would say, think about like your operating system that you have and how much effort you need to spend here depends on, your personal dynamic, your team dynamic, and just like what stage of company you are. But is it discipline? Do you have, specific ways of decision making that are like logically rooted and, able to keep you moving in the right direction? And, are you using like an OKR system, or how are you prioritizing? I think it's good to be thinking about that early on, so you don't waste time. And so you really stay focused on the areas that you're trying to move in the near term. Um, I don't know. Some other thoughts I had is like, does your co-founder or someone on your founding team have technical aptitude? I think that's really it's a key difference maker. I don't, obviously. I can't code, and maybe with AI, you can do some of that easier than before. But It's really hard if both uh, co-founders or like the early team is having to outsource all the engineering and product work. You can move a lot faster if you find somebody who wants to be on this journey with you that is capable of building your vision. If you are not technical yourself, as far as like this kind of goes back to prioritization, I'd say think about your next 6 months and where you want to be, and work that into weekly or biweekly sprints, and just like really make sure that you're checking boxes for the most important things every time you go through it. So that you can say like, hey, this is what I got done this week. This is what I set out to do, and be really honest with yourself, because I think being a founder is a lonely, very lonely journey. It's very hard. And you need to kind of utilize your own organizational tools to, keep yourself on the right track. Those are things where you might have to do it because you only have a certain amount of funding and you're worried about what your runway is. Or you're just kind of not, in my case, I had worked at a really big company that was too big to fail, and suddenly you're fully betting on yourself, and you just need to kind of build systems for yourself to stay on track and to make sure you're prioritizing. So, those are the things that came to mind for me. And what I would say that, founders in the early stages are thinking about.